Welcome. We're ready to take a look at some additional measures of central tendency in attempting to describe a typical value in a data set. So our next measure is called the median, and we'll abbreviate it either MD for median, or I'll use MED typically. So we don't have different symbols in this case for the situations where we have population versus sample data. We just always refer to the measure as the median. And the definition of the median, it's the value that separates the upper and lower halves of an ordered, sorted set of data. So let me take a look at the first case here. So I'm going to take a look at some data, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 values. So my first case is looking at a data set where we have an odd number of values. And in this situation, the median will be the number positioned in the middle of the sorted list. So it's important, if the data are not in numerical order, to start there. So sorting the data. So the smallest value there in the data set is a 5. I'm just going to cross them off as I go. And then I have a 7 next, and an 8, a 9, a 10, a 12, and a 15. Now, our graphing calculators can actually sort data for us, but with such a small data set, that was pretty simple just to do ourselves. And now the middle of that list. So you can probably visually see that middle position. So at that 9, there's 3 numbers to the left of it and 3 numbers to the right of it. And so that is the median. So MED, median. If you ever have trouble locating it, one thing that you can do that is kind of a cute little technique. I'm just going to switch color here for a second. Anytime you want to find the middle of the list, if you cross out the ends, the far left, far right, smallest and largest, and then you do that again, so crossing things off in pairs, and then do it again. So if you repeat that process, that will always bring you to the middle of the list. All right, so our median is 9. And I'm going to go back to this example and talk about something called the mode and mid-range in a bit, but let me give you the second case. So in this example, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 values. So when we have an even number of values and we want to find the median, so the first step always with the median is the numbers must be in order. So we sort the data. That would not be necessary if we were finding a mean. When we find a mean, we're just adding numbers and dividing, so the order would not be important. But when we're looking at median, it is definitely your first step. So values in numerical order, and it looks like 75 there is the smallest value. I'll cross that off. There's another 75, another 75, and then I have an 80, an 83, 2 90s, 90, 90, and a 92 finally for the highest value there. Okay, so when we have an even number of data values and we go to the center of that list, I'll do my technique here of crossing off the ends. So let me do that again to get me to the middle. So if I cross off the extremes, high and low, do it again, do it again. Now this time, when I get to the middle, I'll actually have 2 numbers in the middle of the list. So what happens in this case, the median will be the mean or the average of the 2 middle numbers. So in this case, for my median, I would be averaging 80 and 83. So to average, find the mean, we just add those 2 numbers and divide by 2. All right, we always want to be careful with order of operations there. So you would find your numerator first. That's 163, and then divide by 2. So that is 81.5. So you can write down steps in between, or just make sure you do order of operations correctly on the calculator. So I'll write this work, but you could just go straight to the answer 81.5. And if we're not told to round, then we just leave that value. All right, so those are your two cases. We'll practice it again in a bit, but median is the number in the middle of a list. Odd number of values, it will be a number in the middle. Even number of values, you have to average the two numbers that are in the middle. All right, and let's just do one example here, a real world example of interpreting median. So median splits a data set in half with half of values below it. So in this example, half of the data values are below the median, half are above it. So here's our example. In March 2023, I looked up the median sales price of a home in Long Beach, and the median sales price was $785,000. All right, so if I had all the data on home prices with the low home prices and the higher home prices, the median here, I'll just abbreviate that 785K for 785,000. So what that tells me in Long Beach is that about half of homes, so about half of homes, or you could say 50% of homes, sold for less than $785,000, and then about half, or 50%, sold for more than $785,000. All right, and you could always look up the current median price in Long Beach. Okay, next measure of central tendency that we'll take a look at is called the mode. So the mode is the most frequently occurring value in the data set. So I'm going to first take a look at an example that is categorical data, because in this case, the mode is the only measure of central tendency that you could report. So here's my example. The dog breeds seen by a veterinarian this month are summarized in the table, and they ask, what is the mode breed? All right, so I know it's summarized here, but let me just kind of speak what this table is saying. So if I wrote out all the dogs that the veterinarian saw that month, I'd have 3 collies. So I could write it across the page, collie, collie, collie. And then he saw 8 poodles. So poodle, 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 etc. 8 poodles. He saw 3 pugs, 3 dachshunds, and 5 schnauzers. So the mode breed is the breed that the veterinarian saw the most with the highest frequency. So he saw more poodles, the highest frequency 8, more poodles than any other breed. So that is the mode. So categorical values, categorical data like dog breeds, names of breeds, the mode is the only measure that we could report, and in this case, it would be poodle. All right, so sometimes it's confusing because you'll want to look at the frequencies, and that's not what we're doing here in terms of the answer. So the answer isn't the frequencies, it's the breed that the vet saw the most. So let me change that example. So what if we said the ages in years of 5 dogs seen by a veterinarian this month follow? What is the mode age? So now if the data were ages of the dogs, I see that 3 occurs more than any other value. So that question, the answer would be the mode age is 3. So 3 years. So we just have to be careful to look at what are they asking. So the difference there, mode breed, the table, breed that occurs the most. Here, mode age, in that list, the age that occurs the most. And there you go, that's mode, so highest frequency occurring value. All right, one other measure of center is called the midrange. The midrange is just the average, the mean, of the lowest and highest value in a data set. And we just abbreviate it here, MR. So we just take the low plus the high, averaged by adding and dividing by 2. So I'm going to review those measures of central tendency back up with my example here. So let me go back to my first case. So when I looked at an odd number of data values, we had found the median. And now let's do the mode for this example. So the mode is the value that occurs with the highest frequency. And in that list, actually, no number there appears more often than any other number. So you don't always have to have a mode. In this case, there is no mode. And then midrange is just the average of the lowest and highest value in the data set. So in this case, the low was 5 plus the high was 15. So averaging two numbers, we add the two numbers, divide by 2. That will be 20 over 2 or 10. All right, and let's do the same thing here with our other set. We had our even number of numbers. We found the median, the number in the middle, and now mode. So do any values occur more than the others? So I see 75 appears 3 times. 90 just appears twice. The others appear once. So 75 occurs more frequently than any other value. So that is your mode. So I just think of occurs the most. So highest frequency value was 75. And then midrange, again, we just take low plus high in the data set and divide by 2. So the lowest was 75. The highest was 92. We add those and divide by 2. And I'll hop over here and get my calculator's help. So 75 plus 92. We want to get that numerator first. So I'm going to hit enter. That's 167. Now I can divide that by 2. And that is 83.5. Okay. So those are our measures of central tendency. This page covers median, mode, and midrange, and previously we did the mean.